Hey guys, welcome back to Church Tech Talks. Hey, I'm going to be changing up the format for this interview. I've got Van Metschke, who we are going to. Did I pronounce that right? Van Metschke?
Yep.
All
Nailed
right,
it.
we got it. Nailed it. Van, you're hosting an event this Monday, March 27th in Southern California. And
Yep.
it's for church tech directors, church techs to get together, build community with other techs. I think it's super invaluable, and I want to talk more about this. But
Absolutely.
before we do, I want you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and kind of introduce yourself.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Van Metschke, and for 20 years, I was a technical director and audio director at large and small churches here in Southern California. And before that, I was in integration, which is where I am back now, oddly enough. And before that, I toured with a bunch of Christian bands that nobody that listens to this podcast will remember. Some of them, maybe, I don't know, whatever. I don't talk about it, but it was just a bunch of stuff back in the 80s. It's kind of where I cut my teeth. And so been doing sound, working in sound and stuff, production since I was 15. Got started in church choir and just kind of made my hobby a vocation. So right now I am the church and client relations person at a company called Vantage Pro AV. We're an integrator based out of Southern California, but we're all over the nation. And we basically help churches and nonprofits with audio, video lighting, acoustics, house lighting, basically take all their pain points and try to fix those and put in new systems. And we work with all size churches, large and small. So we work with churches all over the nation, and we do some nonprofit stuff too, private schools, Christian schools, colleges, and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we do
Awesome.
in a
Now,
nutshell.
you left out a podcast that you'd started with
Oh
a
yeah,
guy named Mike Sessler, Church Tech Weekly, I believe was the
yeah, that was
podcast.
yeah. So for 10 years, my good friend Mike Sessler, who's also a technical director. One of the cool things about Vantage, our company, is that all of us, for the most part, we're all former church technical directors, and so he also works for the same company I do now. He's one of the founders, and he's one of our engineers, our main engineer. For years, he was a technical director, and now we did. A podcast called Church Tech Weekly for 10 years. And I don't know how many episodes I think before we started recording, I was trying to remember, it's 200 some episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really fun. Some people who are listening to this might remember it, but and then we had another podcast called Church Tech Profiles, and then we had the Green Room. And so we've been doing podcasts for a long time. I always joke to people now, it's really funny to hear people say, hey, there's this new thing called podcasts. They're really, really cool. I think Joe Rogan started podcasts, didn't he? And
He invented them. Yeah.
yeah, he invented them, except that there was podcasts like 15 years ago
Yeah.
because we were doing them. But yeah, so now podcasting is great. I'm really glad it's had a resurgence, because it kind of dipped down a little bit.
Yep.
And I think that everybody being locked in their houses for a year kind of made podcasts, kind of become a thing again. And then
Yep.
having a lot of them be video podcasts now with YouTube, and Rumble and all the different, Facebook and all the different
Right.
stuff that they're on. So I think that's cool. I think it's great. But so yeah, we did that for a long time and did a ton of church events. Have been active with Philo for years and years, and MXU and all the different stuff. So yeah, been a part of all that stuff. Trying to help church techs and churches just do better technology and lead their teams better, and hopefully be healthy as church tech leaders, and not fall over the cliff, fall into the well.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. And I was mentioning to you beforehand as well, as a young tech director coming up, having, access to that podcast. And it was always such a source of inspiration. We tend to be kind of like a siloed community. Like we're very
very much so.
nerdy, and we
Yeah,
kind of, we're in our own world oftentimes. And so it's really nice to have those resources to be able to get that inspiration, to get ideas from other guys that are passionate about the same things you're passionate about.
for
And
sure.
it definitely, I know your podcasts that you've done over the years have benefited my church and guys that I lead. So first of all, thank you. Seriously, you and Mike have really helped shape that. You mentioned the guys at MXU; they really did too. They kind of brought about like a passion for mixing well, which is really cool. And
it was our honor. I mean, we just one of the reasons we did it is because nobody. I mean, when we started it, nobody else was doing it.
Yeah.
There had been, but most of the podcasts that started, because everybody, even myself, I had a podcast that has one episode called the Sound Booth podcast. And I had this lofty idea that I would do it like most people that watch this probably don't know, but there's this on NPR. There's this podcast called This American Life. It's by a guy named Ira Glass. And it's like this like story thing where they'd have like 4 or 5 stories and it'd be all cool and everything like that. I did one podcast. It took me a month to produce it. And I was like, I can't do this one podcast a month. I can't do this by myself. There's no way.
If you're lucky, 6 a year.
Yeah.
And it's a full-time job.
And now I still have that podcast. I still have it I still have the recording. And sometimes I'll listen to it and go, well, that was actually pretty good. But you have to have productions, you forget. So Ira Glass has a production staff of like 20 people.
Right.
To do that one podcast. Yep. I was doing it by myself, and so then just through a confluence of God just working things out, Mike and I got introduced to each other on yet another podcast. It was called Faith Tools way back. And we became friends. And then he decided to start Church Tech Weekly. And this is not on anybody because it's hard. It's hard doing it. I always joke with people. I said, I wanted to do a podcast. Then Mike decided he was going to do all the hard work of the podcast. And all I had to do was be on it. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is better than doing it yourself. So Mike and I, have been friends for a long time now. And then Duke DeYoung, who's also part of our company was also on tons and tons of those podcasts. And the great part about it is we learned as much as you guys did because the podcast afforded us the ability to become friends with so many amazingly talented people, people like, Dave Stagel, obviously Andrew Stone, I literally, I don't know, most people don't, I don't know if anybody's heard the story about how we got him on the podcast, but I was at a Seeds podcast, at a Seeds conference at Church on the Move. Mm-hmm. And I literally walked into the booth, like God parted the seas of all the people that always wanted to talk to Andrew Stone. I walked straight into the booth, right up to him. And I said, you don't know me, but my name is Van Metschke. And we have a podcast called Church Tech Weekly. And he said, oh yeah, I listen to you and Mike every week. I love that podcast. And great. I said, great. I want you to be on it. And he goes, I have nothing to say. And I'm like, that is a lie.
Yeah, that is not true.
Right. And
you have a lot to say.
Right. And so literally the next week he was on the podcast and then he was one of our most popular guests. We probably had him on 10 times.
Yeah.
And obviously he became a really close friend for me and Mike and a bunch of other people,
Yeah. He is a great guy.
We were in constant contact. We went to shows together. We hung out together, and got to do a lot of fun stuff. So I got to make a lot of great friends, tons and tons of friends from MXU, from Philo, from all these other things, Church Tech Roundtable, all these different iterations, all came from the podcast. So it was a lot of fun. And we got to just, we were just honored to do it and just really blessed. And everybody like you guys blessed us as much as we were apparently blessing you. And we just did it because we like to get together at first and we talk about Church Tech.
Yeah.
And then everybody else would, we'd get all these emails and stuff.
Right.
And I think the number one email we got, which I loved, was thank you for doing the podcast because you guys made me realize that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest one where because we all who do Church Tech, I did it for 20 years. You feel like you're the only one and no one else understands you because certainly no one else on the staff understands you.
Yeah.
All the pastors look at the tech people like, really?
Yeah.
Are you guys even Christians? That's sometimes, but it's great to be with the tribe. And so
yes,
to go back to this event that we have is so Marvin Simpson, who is the tech director for a local church out here called Water of Life. It's a big church out here in Southern California. who was actually my assistant technical director for 4.5 years
Yeah.
at a church. And he's been the tech director there for a long time. He has the same passion. And so I'm just helping him put this event on. So yeah, it's going to be, I'll make sure you have the link for it. You probably already have the link for it.
Yep. And I'll put all that in the description and
so it's literally happening. Like, we're recording this on Friday. It's happening on Monday. So it's a very short window, but if you're here in Southern California and you want to join, all you have to do is go to there's an Eventbrite page, and you can go and click on it, and it's free. And we do have some sponsors from a very nice company, Shure and Chevet Pro Lighting, and some other are going to help us with it, which is great, which is awesome. If you're in a church tech, you know that both Chevet and Shure not only love selling product to the church, but they love investing in the church. And that's one of the things about those two companies that's really cool. Is they have a real, they literally really, they want the churches to succeed tech wise.
Yeah. And I don't know, especially a lot of new techs, they don't realize like how valuable that time is just hanging out and meeting people. Not
100%.
only are you going to just talk about things that you enjoy, but you're going to develop relationships with people that are in your neighborhood, maybe a couple towns over. And those relationships, it's not just, that friendship, but also sometimes they're linchpins. If you need a pinch, I remember I met a guy from a church couple towns over from me at an event you hosted in Planning Center. And then Christmas came around and I was short. I needed a power cable for a P16. And I was like, shoot, I can't get this anywhere. And it was Christmas Eve and I needed this thing. And I eventually just went to my phone book and just started texting people, hey, do you have this? Do you have it? And the guy that I met at your event was like, yep, I got one. Swing by. Here's my address. Come grab it. I popped over there 15 minutes later, I had my power cable. And so that's a silly example of that. But when you have that community, like a lot of guys don't have that. And what they don't realize is, you can have that. And so, also just to take this moment, if you're watching this and you're not in Southern California and you want that, start it. Start calling up churches and get numbers of technical guys at those churches and just go out to lunch. Start making those friendships because, we're often viewed as like the introverts too. But if you can go outside your shell a little bit and make those friendships, they can pay dividends, not just to you, not just to them, but also to anyone you're leading, to anyone in your churches that are benefiting from the expertise that you're going to gain from, the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and that's true in a lot of different areas. And it's certainly true with tech when you can bounce off these very technical ideas. Hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? And, oh, well, I tried that and it didn't work, but I did this. That's very beneficial to us as technicians, but also to the people we lead and to the churches that we serve.
100%. I mean, I'll tell you what, I still to this day, because I'm a technical director at a Christian school as well, at a Christian high school as well here in Riverside, and I still am in contact with so many of the churches, here in Southern. Now, here in Southern California, you can't swing a cat without hitting a pretty large church. Yeah. But, but I've become friends with a lot of these folks. And I will tell you that one of the other things I will say to piggyback on what you were talking about, call up the larger. So if you're a smaller church tech guy or girl and call up the larger churches and find out who their tech folk are, 99% of the time, you'll be the first church that's reached out to them. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, well, wait, who are you with or whatever. And so they'll be totally cool with bringing you over, having you take a tour. If you can spend a Saturday night or a Sunday with them, just hanging out in the tech booth, all of them I have never met. Well, I can't say that. I have almost always met tech people in big churches that love to, do this and they love to help smaller churches and they love to help other churches. And We used to joke that church tech is its own denomination. So it's kind of, we don't care. Like, we're not going to ask you about dispensationalism or not, what's your view on that? Or we're
Right.
not going to let you, we're not going to help you. No one cares. I
Right.
mean, somebody cares. We don't care about that to help the body of Christ. We're going to help whoever. And so if you reach out to somebody, and I know it's hard, especially, we were joking because we're both extroverts and we're in the 1.5%
Yeah.
of tech people, but honestly, to do this event, Marvin he literally cold called churches, and he is not an extrovert. He's an introvert, and he cold called churches and just found out who their tech people were, if they had tech people, and he invited them to the event. And so, you can do it. It's possible. You just do it one person at a time. And there are just tons and tons of great places. Like, honestly, I would belong to, make sure you follow Philo, make sure you follow MXU, make sure you follow all this other stuff. And a lot of times they'll have lists of the churches that are local to you, so you can get in contact and go to those events, and you'll meet people. So I know it's hard to go to events because you either don't have time, the church doesn't have budget, or whatever. But if you can go to one that's close and it's within driving distance, go to it. Like, figure out how to get there and go to it. And you will not regret it, So that's one of the reasons we're doing this. I mean, yeah, companies sponsor it. I work for a company, but I have a heart for church techs and always have. Anybody that knows me knows I have a heart for the tech tribe. And so our biggest thing is we want you all to be healthy. We want you to be healthy because healthy techs do better with the gear that we install. Let's just be honest. The gear our company installs, if you guys have a great and healthy tech team, that is a win.
Right.
And it's a win for us personally, because all of us, like on my team, we're all former tech directors. So we want to see all of you succeed, and we don't want you to burn. And we've all been there. We've all been burned out after Christmas. We've all been on the edge. We've all wanted to quit our jobs. I don't know if I can say this, but I always ask tech people, I said, have you shut the door of your office and cursed out your boss? And of course, young technical directors will be like, no, I've never done that. And I'm like, well, you will, or you're lying, so it just, there's a lot of pressure. We were talking before this. I said, most people on a church staff, they don't understand the tech people.
Yeah.
So you can easily feel like you're alone. Doing what we do. And so it is so crucial to get with other people that do what you do.
Yep.
And events like this are great too, because like, we're going to have a bunch of small churches at this event, but we are going to have some of the bigger church folks at this event too. And then you get to ask them questions.
Right.
Hey, how do you guys do this? And how do you, and it's like Todd Elliott from Philo says, he says, when he was the technical director at Willow Creek in Chicago for many, many years. And he said, it's just scale.
Yes.
He said, your pastor freaks out because you want to buy 2 motion lights. My pastor freaks out because I want to buy 20 motion lights.
Yep.
And so it's the scale of the same thing. So
and something I mentioned to you earlier too, and I think this is applicable, but you've got to learn how to get that change in your pocket with leadership. You have to prove yourself with the little things so that you can then, when you present the bigger things, they trust you. And a lot of younger guys or newer guys, they don't have that experience, and just getting anything is like a hard thing for them. But when you go to these events, you can find guys that are, 5, 10, 15 years ahead of you in this. And I remember the days when the ministry I oversaw was literally me and a mix wizard, 16 channel little analog board. And that's all I had to worry about. And then 10 years later, I'm overseeing a volunteer base of over 100 people. And it didn't happen overnight. And it didn't happen because one day I was just like, hey, I want to spend $25,000 on a PA. Cool, write me a check.
And you should be glad it didn't happen overnight.
Exactly. I would not have had the skills. I didn't listen to enough Church Tech Weekly podcasts at that point.
You would have been calling in for therapy.
Yes.
But you know what? We were just talking about, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like I was saying, I'm tech directing at a school that I actually went to that school. And so, it's kind of one of those, a prophet is not appreciated in his own hometown
Yep.
kind of a thing.
Yep.
But that's true. But I have been back tech directing there for like the last 10 years. And, but I've had to put chips, I've had to gain chips in the game.
Yeah.
And you always have to get chips in the game. You always have to have that, that's why it's so important to this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but it's not, because I did this when I was a technical director at a giant church and we had the knowledge to do it ourselves, but we still partnered with integrators. And here's why, because you can't do it all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know everything. And if you guys haven't figured this out by now, there's no way you can know everything about technology. It's moving so fast, especially, and now with AI and everything else that's happening. I mean, it's Moore's law is going right off shooting off into space right now.
Yeah.
So you can't know everything. It's impossible. So you got to partner yourself with people, both in the industry and in other churches, who know more than you do and who know things that you don't know.
Yep.
I still do that. I've been doing this my entire life. I'm an old guy. See, you can tell by my beard. I'm an old guy. I still call people and ask questions.
Yep.
My dad, and I'll paraphrase this because nobody knows what a Rolodex is anymore, but my dad basically said, have people smarter than you in your contacts that are willing to take your phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically the only way to get that is to come to these events, to make friendships, to make partnerships, to hang out, to go to lunch, to listen to podcasts, and to admit you don't know everything.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're not going to get fired because you don't know everything. Trust me, your pastor doesn't know everything. And he went to Bible school and he still doesn't know everything about the Bible. Trust me. So there's no way you can know everything about technology. Being on the inside of technology, like being an integrator now. So we see products before you guys will ever see them. I've seen products that are not going to come out for another 6 months or a year, and we can't talk about them. But I was like, what does that even do? Now it's like, it's like 16K. No, I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean? You're just like,
right.
How can your eye even see that? I don't even know.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, so there's no way anybody knows about it, but collectively we all know about it. So partnerships are, it's all about relationships. So Mike and I said that about 1 billion times on the podcast. It's all about relationships with the Lord, with each other, and with other techs. That's what it's about. So
yeah, there's just such a
even though most tech people would like to be in a closet by themselves and never talk to anybody.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a growth that can happen from that. And, you can gain so much knowledge on not just the tech. Maybe you are really good at tech, but maybe you don't know how to manage people. Maybe you don't know systems. Maybe you don't know budgeting. There's just so many avenues of this. We really are like, our position is the jack of all trades. And so when you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none oftentimes. And so bringing in some masters in certain areas can really help. Anyways, I don't want to take too much more of your time. Thank you so much for having this chat, Van. I really appreciate it. And I hope that the audience here, you guys go check it out if you're in SoCal. I'm going to put the link in the description below. Seriously, guys, go to this. It's free. You're going to get free food. I'm going to give Shure MV7 to Van to give out to somebody at this event. So go to this thing and someone's going to get it. I don't know how you're going to give that out, Van. I'll let you figure that out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're gonna have one more thing to give away. So
there'll be swag, and there'll be swag from us. If any of you have ever seen the original bacon shirts that we had years ago, we have the bacon shirt 2.0.
Oh,
we have a new version of it, which is a big hit every time we give them away. We'll have shirts, hats, the Shure guys and the Chevet guys are going to give stuff away. And, obviously the Shure, microphone. So just come out, hang out. It's great. And if you're having trouble, if you, for some reason are having any trouble, I'm on all the socials, the sound booth, on Twitter, and then Van Metschke, all one word, on everything else. So
Cool.
you can hit
Cool.
me up.
I'm also I'll throw those down below too. So if you wanna go follow Van, please do. He's awesome. He shares a ton of rad stuff. His company's great. So I definitely endorse it. So go check him out. If you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I'm going to do more interviews like this because this was really cool. And I really enjoyed having this talk today. So again, thank you, Van. Great. You were awesome.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you all on the next one.
See you later.